Well, the One Piece live action is out, and my wife and I have sat down to watch all of it. And although there is far more good than bad, there is some bad, and I would like to talk about that in this video into 3 major points. And at the very end of the video, I will go ahead and sing the praises of what actually came out to be quite an amazing and fun project. So, disclaimer, I'm not a hater. I love One Piece, you guys know this already, but we can't just let something slide. I genuinely have issues here. Issue number 1, for example, the speed and the pacing of certain things in the live action are ludicrous. For example, Shanks's bar scene with Higuma the bear. That happened, like, genuinely, the second confrontation with Higuma happened so fast, and I kind of understand how, like, a real world element, people don't just kind of like stand around and gawk like I get that, you know, I'm not ripping that apart, but the whole like Pirates of the Caribbean fight with the red hair pirates and Higuma just, you know, on a boat giving out weirdly like deep lines, like you know, Luffy said something about never wanting to be born and Higuma responds like, trust me, I wish I never was. Like, what even is that? You know, it's just kind of like a weird like tie-in line, but you guys never named Higuma, which we will get to as another problem later in the video. But you know, Higuma, we don't even see him get eaten by the monster, and you know, he just kind of gets like sucked under the water by the monster. The Lord of the Coast comes up, surfaces, and then him and Shanks have the stare off. And you know, that part, that's okay to be fast because it is just a 1 second get lost stare down, and then the monster recoils from the haki and leaves. That's fine. But as a whole, the way that whole experience happens from start to finish is kind of a little too quick to even like process and, you know, understand the significance and the magnitude of that moment. It's just kind of drowned out by sassy quips, one-liners, and then out of nowhere, like a shockingly cool moment that you're wondering, like, it's like when you drive home and you don't remember how you got home, you just remember you don't even remember the drive. You were in autopilot. It honestly felt at times, and this goes on through the whole season, there's some speed that like some speed running through the story to the point where you're wondering genuinely how you got there in the first place. You know, like Kokoyashi Village, I know it's called Coco Village, but you know, I grew up with One Piece forever, and you know, it's always Kokoyashi to me. But the scenes in Coco Village, like when they look at the house that's upside down, right? And then you're already into the flashback after talking to Nojiko, and it shows Arlong go up and flip that house upside down. Well, they were little girls back then, and now they're grown women, and that house is still upside down. And I just genuinely thought that was like a really corny and fastly like thrown in there detail. Like it's cool. It shows the strength of the fishmen, but it also takes away from the strength of the fishmen, which, you know, that's always been a problem in One Piece. They never were really given consistency in their power because, you know, if they're so strong, being touched by one should eviscerate you, should explode you, honestly. But the background story of Nami and Belle-Mère, right? It's not just the house being flipped over, being introduced 20 seconds before the scene starts. It's the fact that it's not even that Arlong shows up. It's the whole backstory. It's so fast. Like, you know, Nami steals the book, and then all of a sudden this is about family being poor and they're not able to provide for each other and have the nice things they want. She's tired of eating tangerines all day. Like, we didn't know you eat tangerines all day, technically. And again, I'm not saying that it's horrible. I'm not saying that it's unwatchable, but that's so fast. Like, they sped ran her backstory very quickly. And it just felt a little surreal. Like I said, it's 0 to 100 with the book. Like, the mom takes the book, and then all of a sudden they're poor. They eat tangerines all day, and they can't handle, you know, she can't handle not having the book. It just felt really rushed. Just that scene in particular to me felt very rushed and kind of like, whoa. Whereas other things had a lot of time to breathe. Even Buggy's Big Top, right? You don't know that the whole town is destroyed until Nami goes outside, and then you're giving more elements. They're chained up, they're forced to applaud. Mayor Boodle is the one doing the dirty work, stretching Luffy. You know, you're given all that time to soak it up, to let it breathe. You digest it down and you understand, like, wow, Buggy has kidnapped this whole town. He's making them applaud for him. And now there is a boy trying to save them, and Mayor Boodle has to hurt the boy. And, you know, I know they don't name Mayor Boodle, but he's not a significant character. And he wasn't in the manga, and in the anime, he was named and all that. And yes, that was his arc in his town, but it does not take away from the story to not have him named. That's fine, right? So yeah, as a total wholesale experience, when it comes to experiencing certain scenes, they're just so fast. I've already brought up Nami and her backstory and how that was just too quick, you know, too quick for comfort. Whereas Buggy's Big Top gets all the time in the world to develop. And then, you know, Syrup Village. 2 whole episodes, 2 whole hours are dedicated to Syrup Village, which is not the worst, but it's a little much considering that, like, people like Sam and Bucci, they're amazing. I loved Bucci's actor. He is freaking hilarious. When he came out in his full pirate getup, I honestly was like crapping myself in laughter because he looked so ridiculous yet so on brand. I loved it. The way that he was happy about his food and that Luffy ate all his poison soup and he was like, he ate it all. You know, he was all cocky about it. And those things got so much time to breathe that you could actually get a lot of background details out of it, a lot of context, right? But then Nami's iconic Arlong, Arlong, Arlong. That Luffy help me scene happens in about 30 seconds. She stabs herself twice, Luffy grabs her arm, and then she tells him to go away and then just belts out Luffy help me. And in the manga and anime, I feel like there's a lot more tension. There's a lot more dramaticism in the air. There's visible, palpable tears dropping down from the magical anime sky onto you, giving you that emotional hurt and that understanding of Nami's pain. Whereas, like, in the course of roughly 15 minutes, maybe even less, we are at Arlong's party. Nezumi shows up. He needs more money. Arlong lets him know that he is a B-word and that he can't hang. And all of a sudden, bring him back because I want him to take Nami's money. And that's more or less how it went down in the source material. But I feel like it was just given more time to breathe. Whereas in the live action, it's just so fast. So much stuff is sped run through that it makes it hard to take seriously or feel the emotional context that you should be feeling. Because if you were to show me the Nami Luffy help me scene in the anime right now, I will still tear up to this day like I did the first time I ever experienced it in my life. Whereas that one, I barely shed a tear, and it was a great scene, don't get me wrong. It just didn't have the weight. It just felt rushed very, very fast, you know? Going back to another topic of speed, the way that Luffy defeats the villains is kind of annoying. Luffy does not take a single, like, if he had a health bar, he probably took like 3 HP to his maximum health the whole show. You know, the most significant damage he took was being scraped in the chest by Kuro, because when he fights Arlong, all Arlong does is push him down and tell him to get up. There's no biting. You know, Luffy doesn't get bit in the arm, bit in the chest. He doesn't get maimed, mangled, punched. He doesn't get so much as smacked in the face by Arlong, I don't think. If I were to go back and watch, I guarantee you Luffy does not take a single actual thwack from Arlong. All Arlong does is catch his fist, ring him forward, and throw him. He does that about 3 times. And meanwhile, Luffy is just putting the 1s and 2s on him from across the room. And I get that. I will say, what it does is it does make Luffy's Devil Fruit power scary to deal with. Because what are you going to do with a guy who can punch you with full force from across the room, right? I understand. I get it. But remember, they just showed us Arlong flipping a fucking house 20 minutes before that. So, you know, it hurts a little bit. Luffy got his ass whooped at Baratie. He couldn't even so much as lay a finger on Arlong. And now all of a sudden, he's mustering up strength to, like, beat the shit out of him. And like I said, the weakness was Arlong's mouth. Like, that doesn't really make sense as to how that correlates to the rest of his body, you know? it, like, Luffy said, once I find his weakness, I'm not going to hesitate. So all of a sudden, Arlong's mouth being punched and a little bit of blood has now shattered Arlong's body, because all it took was a Gum Gum Gatling and the battle axe, which the battle axe was done phenomenally. I won't hate on that. That was awesome. But the whole speed at which Luffy dogs any villain in this show, like Axe Arm Morgan, goes down really fast. Also, he committed no crimes. It was really interesting to see the take on Axe Arm Morgan, because I really feel like he didn't do anything. They should have had him kill a Marine or something. But unless I'm not remembering clearly, what did Morgan do? He didn't do anything wrong, really, other than be a liar and a bit of a narcissist, maybe allocating Marine resources to all those pictures of him and all that. But like, is that really the worst thing in the world? That's just a little nitpick, right? But the speed at which Luffy takes down these villains, I understand why Kuro was beaten so fast and so succinctly, because he has super speed and knife hands. So you can't really be tangling with that for too long, lest you risk getting, vivisected by a 10 sword hand guy, I get that. And Kuro was done flawlessly, amazingly. But all he did was scrape Luffy's chest, and then he got his shit rocked. His head caved in by the Gum Gum Bell, which again was awesome. But when you go back and think about it, oh, Luffy just got a scrapey wapey on his chest. You just throw him a band-aid and he's good. Meanwhile, Zoro gets straight up eviscerated by Mihawk. And yes, true to the source material. But then a little bit later, Arlong shows up and all he does is beat on Luffy. And I get Luffy has superpowers, makes him a little bit immune to damage, but he gets his ass whooped and thrown in the water, and he doesn't have any visible damage, no lasting side effects and all that. And again, like, I'm not hating on that aspect. It's just like, it really takes away from Arlong's villainy, because Arlong was awesome. Do not get me wrong. But Chu felt scarier than Arlong and Karubi. Shooting the alcohol bullets, I genuinely like the way they sped up. Like, that was a good time to speed something up, right? Usopp versus Chu, a very quick fight and a succinct end. Like, he murked Chu, and that was awesome. We got to see him, spending time making his weapons and all that. Again, time to breathe, so that when the fight came, we could digest how he beat his ass. That's fine. Like, that's not the worst thing ever. But then, Zoro and Sanji fighting Karubi. Oof. It was a good fight, right? It was good. But again, very fast. Like, really, 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 really fast. And if you're going to bring up Fishman Karate, at least have him do something else other than a quick palm thrust and maybe name the attack, right? If Luffy's naming attacks and Buggy's naming attacks and Sanji's naming attacks now, why not Karubi? Just my thing. Karubi could have said, 2,000 brick fist or something like that. And it would have brought a little more impact to Karubi, because, again, keep in mind, at the Baratier, they could not hurt Karubi very much. And then all of a sudden, Sanji's naming attacks and they're destroying Karubi, right? And I like that, Zoro didn't really take a focal point on Arlong Park. I'm mad we didn't get the Arlong part. And that, that goes back to the speed issue. Is like, wow, that was really fast, right? That's really about all I have to say about the speed issue. It's just some things are given time to breathe, too much time to breathe, actually. And then other times, blinking you miss and the whole fight happens, especially Arlong Park. The penultimate fight of this season, the most important fight, is like over and done with before you can even really feel how crazy it was, right? And I'm not really hating too hard on it. I'm just saying it was very fast. Now onto my second major issue with the live action, and this might generate some hate, but I don't care. Someone's got to say it. The Easter eggs are stupid and a waste of time. I did not like any of them. I don't care. There was more Easter eggs in the trailers, given more focal point and limelight, than in the show. I don't even remember seeing Foxy's bounty in the show. I don't remember looking at Cavendish or Bellamy's bounty in the show. But they showed them to us in the trailer like they would matter, right? Then, we get the Django poster, so it's like, oh yeah, we're going to get Django in Syrup Village. We don't get Django in Syrup Village. Don't show him. Just don't. it's stupid and a waste of time, honestly. It brought up my hopes and really, really crashed down my expectations. Like, it kind of ruined Syrup Village for me in a little bit. And it's not that I, like, again, I'm going to keep saying it throughout the whole video. It's not that I don't like it. It's that I liked the whole season as a wholesale experience. But individual nitpicks, the Django poster is a waste of time and it feels stupid. Unless they bring him for a different, you know, part of relevancy, because they did show Kuro getting away, and that's fine. Mirrorball Island is clearly not that far away from them on the map. He might be able to survive a trip to Mirrorball Island, reunite with Django, and maybe we'll get him in season 2. And if that's the case, I will take back everything I said about Django's inclusion bounty poster being stupid. But there's other things too, like again in Syrup Village, a garden of animals. Who gives a shit? They fought inside the whole time. The animals did not need to be there. I don't care about the panda, the elephant tiger thing, like none of that mattered. Just, you already didn't bring up Gaimon in the manga, in the live action, so just don't bring up those animals. All that time spent in the garden is a waste. Just make it a regular maze. You should have had someone fight outside and like, you know, the garden animals getting sliced up or something, right? Instead of like allocating resources to that dumb shit. And then again, in Arlong Park, the awesomeness of Arlong having an amusement park is great up until the part where they don't even do anything with the amusement park rides or individual attractions or anything other than having Buggy up as something to throw things at. Like, that's fine, I guess. But there could have been a couple fights or a couple people hit into some of the stage attractions of Arlong Park, and it would have made it like, oh, why is Arlong Park an actual amusement park? That should be brought up, considering they are setting up many down the line plot points throughout the whole season. We don't need to get into that in this video. That's a topic for another video. But the amount of Easter eggs in this show versus the amount of things they cut in the show is alarming and annoying. For example, you didn't cut Full Body, and you even put someone from Romance Dawn, like Crescent Beard, whatever, who I didn't care. Seeing both of them did nothing for me. Fuck out of here. Because you know who you cut? You cut Hachi. When you could have put you could have taken a Fishman, any of the 500 fucking Fishman you had in Arlong Park, and named one of them Hachi. You didn't have to put a fucking, like an octopus statue on a tree to the left of the screen, taking up a third of my viewing space for no Hachi, right? The guy that argued with Nami at the pool table or the poker table or whatever the fuck they were playing with the spiky hair, if his name is not Hachi, I'm going to be pissed off because he has the same hairstyle, you know? So yeah, to wrap up everything for the Easter eggs, I feel like there's just too many. And then at certain points when there should be Easter eggs, like Kaya's Manor, for example, unless I missed any, there's like none. There's far too much set. Way too much items in there, like focusing on like the ape skulls in the counter as Kuro walks by. Like, don't care. Don't give a shit. The painting of Kaya's parents, don't give a fuck. Don't show it to me. Waste of time. The amazing kitchen that Bucci is cooking in, like, I get it. Some sets need to be really good looking to give you that real feel. And, like, it's good. To a point, it is very good. And then to a point, it also detracts because, you know, we're getting Easter eggs and nice looking sets like Kaya's Manor and her stupid garden, but we're not getting Hachi. And this is going to lead into my third point, which is the amount of people not introduced but shown and the amount of things cut that, in my opinion, should not be cut. And I hope there's a good reason for them to be cut. For example, Hachi. What the fuck? I don't care what anyone says. I watched a video where Matt Owens was interviewed by Randy Troy, and he talks about with great excitement about the Easter eggs. And back then is when I started getting worried because he sounded too happy with the Easter eggs. And we all knew what they were going to be, you know, Zoro fighting Mr. Seven, and he was shocked that we knew that for some reason. And then again, Full Body and Crescent Beard guy, he thought that nobody would get that. And we got that immediately. Like, we consume One Piece too, genius. And I'm not taking away from Matt Owens, and I hope it doesn't sound too rude, but your choices to be excited about Easter eggs are fucking abysmal, and I don't care about them. And I wish we would have gotten things like Hachi, you know, naming Haguma the bear. He's in there. He's actively being a character in the show, but you don't name him. You don't show us him. Or, I mean, you show us him, but you don't name him, which was just weird, like a weird decision. And again, Makino is given way too much relevance when you actually have a costume allocated to a character for Whoop Slap shown for like about a split second, but you don't name him, you don't show us that he's like the mayor of the town. And again, it's not horrible, that's not the worst decision ever made, but for the amount of Easter eggs they gave us that don't matter or amount to anything right now, and they may never amount to anything at all, like the fucking animals in the garden and Luffy's stupid shirts. Like, I like the way they dress and all that, but they don't matter. Like, that shit doesn't matter. I guarantee you nobody would have batted an eyelash if Luffy just wore the same red vest over and over again. Like, it might have made the show a little boring, like to look at, you know, visually dull, but it wouldn't have taken away from the story like the Easter eggs do. Because, you know, don't think I didn't notice the amount of characters that you put in Arlong Park that as like tiki totems. I don't care about them. I will never care about them. That actively pissed me off, actually, to see those Easter egg references. So many of them. Where the fuck was Hachi? Where was Hachi? It's really annoying. And hopefully there's a good reason for cutting him, because the reason we got a fucking problem with no Hachi, because I know I'm not the only one, is that he's a very integral part of the story starting at Arlong Park, leading through up to the beginning of Sabaody, and then Sabaody and Fishman Island. Like, Hachi is big. He's big news. He only disappears for a couple hundred no, not even a couple hundred chapters, like maybe 50 chapters, or a little bit more, like between 50 and 100 chapters, we get no Hachi, but he comes back. It actively took away from my enjoyment of the end of the show, because I was waiting for Hachi to be at least name dropped. It's okay that you don't make him an octopus person. That's fine. Just name any of the freaking 100 fishman you had over there Hachi. I guarantee you no one would have cared as long as he was name dropped. But instead you gave us the stupid idiot full body and the guy he was arguing with the crescent beard. Like, I did not care, and I wanted that to get off my fucking screen so fast. I did not give a shit about that scene. And you guys put so much into that scene, and that scene just made me angry and not like the Bratier. Is that I really did not like the speed at which Sanji said goodbye to Zeph. Like, he started crying and all that, and if we didn't have the flashback, I wouldn't have felt the emotional attachment. So like the goodbye scene was like half good, half bad, you know? And again, all of that is because you guys did things like include Patty with the blue hair and all. He did not matter. He could have just never been named. Like, you named him and you gave him his blue hair and a nice outfit and all that, but like ultimately all he did was yell at Sanji like twice and appear on screen like twice. You showed us Gin, you know? At first I was like, whoa, yeah, Gin, he looks so good. And then like, he didn't really do any, like, he ate the food. That was really it. And even then, you know, Sanji just quickly, like, if someone's hungry, I feed them. That's that. And, you know, speed, pacing issues, the Easter eggs, and cutting people like Hachi actively took away from my enjoyment of the show. And I know Oda put out that little disclaimer, like, with Jinbei drawn in there saying, like, stop worrying about what you've lost or something along those lines. Well, I'm gonna worry, because I didn't like it. And at the very end of the show, when they showed Smoker, I thought he looked dumb as hell. Like the hair and the overly big gloves. I don't know. I might just be a hater for that, but like, I don't want you to walk away from this video thinking that I don't like the live action, because I loved it and I thought it was very good. I thought things that were given time to breathe were excellent, like Kuro's character. Great stuff. Usopp, we didn't really get to know him. That was interesting. That was an interesting decision on your part to give Kuro more lines than Usopp. And if you want to debate me on that, let's count how many lines Usopp has versus how many lines Kuro has. I guarantee you they're along the same lines as each other. And, you know, Axon Morgan, he didn't do anything wrong, really. He probably could have been doing things wrong, but you don't announce it and they don't explain it. So really, I was just thinking like, wow, his base got raided and he lied to Garp about the map, the reason why the map got stolen, and now he's hung up on a cross. Weird decision, but not the worst, right? It was really the Easter eggs. I hated them. I felt like they were stupid and detract from the show, because if this show is to get new fans who've never consumed One Piece, what the fuck is an Easter egg to them? Why would they care, right? Because as a fan, I didn't care. It wasn't for me, And I don't know what fan actually would be like, oh, I want to watch the show again so I can see Full Body argue with the Crescent Beard guy. Terrible, right? Well, anyways, as a wholesale experience, I genuinely think the entire show, very good. I think the things that are done well are done very well. I think some of the action scenes are phenomenal. The Lord of the Coast looks really good. But overall, just certain things really took away from my enjoyment of the show, and I wouldn't give it near a perfect score. It's a solid 8 out of 10 experience. I've been Merch Hunter Ricky, and that was a quick review of the One Piece live action. Have a good one, everyone.